Afternoon, everybody. Again, I'm glad to give you the first keynote speech about is Ministry of Higher Education taking care of science diplomacy. So I'll try to give some insights on this, our role as a ministry in science diplomacy. My talk will cover these 5 topics: major drivers. What are the major drivers to science diplomacy? What is the concept of science diplomacy? And what is our education system? Because you lean on the education system and you lean on scientists and science and technology. And what is the actions and procedures taken by the ministry to achieve such science diplomacy approach? And then I'll conclude. I believe the unemployment is one of the major drivers to some tensions and conflicts, particularly among young people who educated and spent part of their life and then came up to without jobs. Poverty as well is kind of struggling to recover from the effects of global economic crisis in 2008. Again, this is kind of economic and social driver that make most of the tensions and conflicts. Again, some conflict and political tensions due to some resources, some other unagreeable issues, some regional and issues that make some tensions. So science diplomacy, science alone cannot solve the many political, security, and economic problems. If we say that science diplomacy or diplomacy for science would solve these political problems, it's not true. The truth is we are part of the ladder. We are part of the wheel that would create some support to relieve this conflicts. However, as I just said, it's incremental process. How the science diplomacy could play a role and address many of these issues, like health, environmental, energy, water, and food. Even the health problem in COVID showed of how science diplomacy played some significant role. Most of these challenges contribute to the regional instability, and this is one of the major drivers. The higher education in Egypt is which the system we are leaning on. There is a lot of increase in the number of students in the last few years. If we say the last 10 years, 38% growth of the ratio of students. In fact, they created by the government large number of universities, even governmental, private, public, higher institute, technological colleges, in addition to Al-Azhar. This, if you see how many students we have in higher education, nearly 3 million. This is higher number that could be used and functioned for diplomat. If you look to the staff, we always look at the exchange of staff and the visiting staff. So we have more than 120,000 teaching staff. We have enrollment postgraduates, 500,000 postgraduate students. So if you look to the international students who sent to obtain their degrees abroad, we cover most of the globe. We have a lot of students everywhere in the globe. This create a diplomacy in the country where they go, about science, about the culture, about the image of the country. So what actions or procedures taken by the ministry to improve the science diplomacy and ensure that this kind of approach would support and help the government and support the society? Build an environment by recruitment of science advisors to work with the policymaker. And this becomes one of the priority in the ministry and in the government. We always use scientific advisor and scientific backgrounds and scientists to work shoulder and shoulder with the policymakers to ensure how much science and the integration and the collaboration with scientific domain is quite important. We foster culture of science communities and communications. And if you look to the international map I just showed about the students, we always have a cultural representative and the scientific and the cultural representative working in the diplomat, in the embassy abroad. This creates a bridge and makes understanding, look after the students abroad, create linkage with the similar higher education systems in the country, make some joint projects. All this kind of culture and scientific communication via this office is quite important. We increase these offices, we improve the knowledge and understanding of the people who go there. We ensure that the people are very diplomatic, however their background is science, but the diplomat behavior is quite important, and encourage academic mobility and exchange. And this been paid a lot of attention, how to make a mobility of staff, how to make a mobility of the students and summer schools and all this kind of mobility. It creates a very good network. It creates a very good diplomat between the people. Organize science communication workshop, and like this one, we organize a lot of science and communication workshops, and we invest in these workshops that create a harmonization between scientists from different cultures, from different countries. This creates a very good environment and a platform for diplomacy between the people and the countries. Create platforms such as database of scientists and research and collaboration and information sharing. And this is quite important if you talk about the social and economic problems that create such tensions. So we need how much the collaboration makes some kind of relieving these issues. Sharing regional scientific projects related to water, food, energy nexus, because most of the problem is some socio-economic problems. So if you're sharing this one to support the society, this makes relief of the tensions. Egypt realized the importance to invest more resources in creating programs to promote the mobility of youth. Mobility of youth is quite important, just to absorb their power and use this power for the changes and make some kind of transformation into the better life of the society. The international cooperation, this is one of the major parts that play with the science for diplomacy. If you look to the international cooperation between our scientists and the international, it makes a very high increase in the publication and the quality of research. So the impact of such collaboration and diplomat and sharing between these international communities and our communities make increase of the quality and number of research. We look to the investment in the forum and workshops, regional forums and technology, such as Forum in Science Technology. It's a very good opportunity and environment for diplomacy. It brought together all the people from science, from policy background, from decision-maker backgrounds, to harmonize together and make and freeze of nation. Sharing in regional and international partnerships. This is quite important. So Egypt is getting involved in EU funding envelopes to make sharing projects. Egypt contributes to the regional funding envelopes like PRIMA. If this initiative of PRIMA initiative for the Mediterranean Basin, to look at it from the South Europe and Northern Africa. So if you share this initiative and put all funding envelope from all these countries to work together in the cross-border challenges, this is a very good science diplomacy. So nowadays, this PRIMA initiative is quite good for the 19 member states from Europe and Africa to work together for diplomacy, for relieving the tension and socio-economic problems in the region. Set up bilateral cooperation in science and technology. And Egypt paid attention to this one. We made a lot of bilateral Egypt, Japan, Egypt, Italy, Egypt, China, South Africa, Germany, United States. All these funded envelope on a bilateral agreement created opportunity for the scientists from both sides to work together, to exchange together, to go here and there and make some relief and unfreeze of all this kind. So the country paid a lot of attention to this and increased the budget for such bilateral scientific research. Set up mobility funding envelope and will put huge amount of money for the mobility and the funding for young researchers to go and make some changes. In conclusion, science and international cooperation is one of the significant future ladders to improve diplomacy between countries and relieve conflicts. I believe in that. Extra role on the shoulder of the scientists to contribute to the stability of the planet via science diplomacy. We have to work as scientists, not just for science, but how to make the science as a very good block to work and contribute to the stability of our society, the stability of our planet, the stability of our region. We encourage governments, developing countries particularly, to invest in science diplomacy to ensure more contribution and high quality of international relationship. This is quite important. If the government believes in science and believes in science diplomacy and put investment, this would create a very good environment and improve the quality of the science diplomacy. We propose to develop both national and regional strategies. We have to have strategies for science diplomacy to empower our scientists for this great role. Strategies on a regional level or a national level to ensure the partnerships and how the scientists play a role in science and socioeconomic and diplomacy. By this, thank you very much, and I'm available for any question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Professor Dr. Islam, for your very informative and to the point lecture. Yes, I like the slide you mentioned the community, and the community not also the scientists to be in bubble.